Hey everybody.
Hello.
Welcome,
Hello
everyone.
from Chaos Towers. It's been a little bit it's been a little bit ragged here in the last few moments, which is why we're a couple of minutes late. My internet completely died. My son had to reconfigure it. Poor Soup is not with us tonight because unfortunately her beloved dog has taken a turn for the worse. TJ is not on the way home yet. It's chaos. So I hope you're all in a much more relaxed state than we are.
Yeah, we were kind of rushed right in here.
But that's
That was
okay.
frantic.
Deep
But I know how to
cleansing
make
breath.
everything better. I know how to make everything better. Solves everything.
Also, we could have a quick word from our sponsor in the back. The very last video that was uploaded, it's only very brief, but very important.
I love that.
I'm glad he's sponsoring us again. How nice.
I know, and I thought that he'd gone off us. Never mind. So, has everybody seen Ziggy's new intro?
Space Age Ziggy.
Yes,
That is
it's
gross.
actually
I'm sorry.
in the back if you want to play it, Eliza.
Is that one called Rainbow?
Rainbow, yes.
Okay. Here we go.
YouTube Ziggy.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2.
Haven asks, is this real? Yeah, it's real. I thought it was a joke too. I thought it was one
I
that
did
Pearl
too.
made making fun of hers. I'm like, oh, that's great, Pearl. She's like, no, that's it.
Tanga thought I had parodied it. The two things that crossed my mind actually seeing it were, one, is she taking the piss out of AB's intro? I've got a little clip of AB's intro in the back, Eliza, and there's something very familiar about Ziggy's intro.
Okay.
Say YouTube, baby. I wonder why.
No, but you see what I mean about the space theme and the colouring? It's sort of like she's sort of one-upping him.
Yeah, she definitely.
But obviously, this is her Ziggy Stardust period. I must admit, the first thought that came to mind, the two pictures in the overlays, Eliza.
Give me a second.
You'll
I gotta...
recognise Ziggy
Oh,
on
oh,
both of them.
oh, yeah. I know
Whichever
which
one
ones
you
now.
want to hit first. Yeah, there's a sort of My Little Pony aspect to it, or My Little Ziggy. That one I think is Twilight Sparkle. I suppose Toilet Sprinkle would be a better name for this one. But yeah, there's something very, very familiar about it. But the first thing that came to mind was actually the other one, because the title is perfect for Ziggy. Rainbow Not So Bright.
That was my favorite.
And if there's anybody in the chat who's got a problem with the fact that we're dragging Ziggy, you better hit the X now. Because just like other channels talk about Ziggy, we're going to talk about Ziggy. If that's the problem, hit the X.
Cry elsewhere.
Bye-bye.
Carrie, so
Yes.
good to see you.
We're going to come back round, I think, to Ziggy in a while. But going back to AB, does anybody in the chat know Karen Massey? The elusive. I'm going to guess that people are going to say, I've seen her name around, but I don't know her. Because nobody does seem to know the elusive Karen Massey. And AB has got a whole conspiracy going on about Doug Hutton and Karen Massey. I've got a little video.
Are you ready for that one?
Yes, the Karen Massey conspiracy. It's only a very brief thing, but it's quite an interesting little idea that AB has got here about Doug.
Hold on. Let me pull this up. So this, to explain this a little bit on screen, that's the point where Karen Massey was going to find my address. So if you're at my community page, you'll see this right here, a communication. She was looking for an address, and Dougie's request, let's say. Who's Karen Massey? Who knows? Just some name in his chat. Probably Doug Hutton. Karen Massey is probably Doug Hutton. Okay, probably a sock account. He's got 2 or 3 phones going with different accounts at one time. All right, but he loves to make it look like that he's talking to somebody in his chat. There's only 79 people in there. Nobody seems to know this Karen Massey, but it gives him an excuse to start talking about something or somebody, right? A little back and forth. He does the same thing on his phone with Grandpa. That's just an audio clip that he responds to in real time. Anyway, really got to get the full effect, because there he is over there, right? What about 30% of your screen is the Cash App? 30% of your mobile screen is going to be his Cash App and PayPal QR codes, so you can more easily send him donations. Wait till he starts actually physically begging for your donations. People, I'd just like to remind you, I need $15 to my PayPal and $15 to my No Thanks Investigates Cash App right away, please, just to make sure that they're working. Okay? And that's what he's asking this Karen Massey in his chat to do, which is actually Doug Hutton's other fucking account. So he's probably got this Crime and Justice, this Lisa, just as hoodwinked, right? Thinking that this Karen Massey is such a real person. And she's like, well, if this Karen Massey is so sold on Doug, so am I. That's the level of intelligence that we're talking about when we talk about this Lisa partner of his, this Crime and Justice. She's intellectually challenged. Dougie has his other accounts active in his own Kick live chat to kick things up a little bit. This is a well-known trick that Doug's always done. He's a master at this. He's got all 3 phones working right now on all 3 accounts. He's got all of his accounts in his live chat. Move this over a little bit. And he uses the people in the live chat answers the question that he types through it. And that's where he gets his talking points from. And it all is going to be around, like, for example, he tells here's the main one, the main reason. He can tell his sock account that's in his own live chat to donate $15 to each one of those to make each one of those links to make sure that they're working. He talks in a way to his follower, subscriber that you've never heard of before, in a way that you would never you'd never ask for a donation in that sense, right? That's a great indicator that he's in there doing that at this point in time. And for on his debut, his first one, his maiden voyage here on Kick, you can well bet that he's busy making a show out of it in his chat. And he's got Crime and Justice in there as well, who doesn't know he has these sock accounts. I'll tell you that much right now. Why would she? That would be a liability to his grift. You can't let her in on that. She's got to believe, and she's a true believer in anything that he says. Do you even notice? Well, everything he says, including all the deceit, the things that she's being deceived about.
I thought that was really interesting. I don't know whether you used to have this same thing in the USA. I would imagine it's universal. We used to have these markets over here, and you would go to the markets, and it wasn't like a regular stand every week. Say it was a special market for a holiday occasion. And you would have somebody with a big store, and they'd be selling something really cheap, and people would be really enthusiastic and quickly buying it. And obviously these were shills. There were people seeded in the crowd to immediately jump at the
Mm-hmm.
opportunity of buying whatever it was. And this seems to be the internet's version of that. I thought it was quite interesting, and I find it completely believable.
Yeah, it's a compelling argument.
Doug's a
Hey,
real odd
Wee.
character anyway. Welcome, Wee. It's good to have you with us today.
We're so grateful to Wee, who we yanked in at the last minute because we need somebody to share a screen later, well, in a while. And Soup was originally going to be doing that, but obviously that fell by the wayside. Yeah, I do find this an interesting idea. Has anybody actually noticed that Doug is both on Crime and Justice's channel, and he's also now on Kick, which I'm not sure that he's going to make much of a going from that.
Yes,
There
Stars
also
pointed
was
that
another
out to
chat
me, that
about
he was...
Heidi phone. Has Heidi called the police on Pooh again?
Yes, Pooh. You're in big trouble, mister. Nixie.
The police are going to think this is like some Simpson-esque joke, sort of. Is IP freely here?
Heidi keeps throwing out, hi everybody, Heidi keeps throwing out that the jerks are making FOIA reports like we're doing it on everybody that has ever walked the face of the planet, which is adorable and all. But I'm telling you, if there's ever a sniff of there being a wee and a poo on the same police report, we are going to parade that stuff through the streets of YouTube like you've never seen.
I'm printing t-shirts. Hey, KB, welcome.
Oh, oops.
What on earth is that? That looks like some sort of clean by numbers for a kitchen. No, that can't be anything relevant to us. Take it off the screen.
Oh, that was a mistake.
Well, if
Sorry,
it was
guys.
somebody that could use that help, they could go ahead and send it to them. I'm sorry, I got a phone call right as I was trying to speak.
Oh, I don't know how that got back there.
Clean by numbers.
You must have forgotten to delete it.
Oops.
Anyway, talking of
Oopsie.
people who are slow on the uptake, we've got a little video back there. I can't remember what the title of it is. Let me look. Oh, breaking news, of course. So stupid of me.
Shut up. She has a tattoo of Doug on her arm? You've got to be kidding me. Are you fucking sorry for my language. Are you serious? Somebody just messaged me and told me that this chick has a tattoo of Doug on her forearm. Team Doug on her forearm. You've got to be fucking kidding me. That is the lamest shit I've ever heard in my life. Yes, a real tattoo. Like, she actually, I mean, that is the lamest shit I've ever heard in my life. You guys, please never go do that. I would have never allowed somebody to get a tattoo of Ziggy on them. This is a chick who has a tattoo of Team Doug on her arm. This girl is absolutely in love with him.
I just want to say real quick, I love looking down at chat and seeing lip locks say hi to genitalia.
Genitalia. Is my cunt in there as well?
Can you believe that Ziggy is so blown away by last year's news?
Yes.
Right? She's just right on there with that breaking news. Just out.
I believe I remember having a discussion in her server about it, and the picture was posted, correct? Or am I crazy?
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Like Ziggy paid any attention to her actual Discord.
There's that.
There'll be no doxing of my crab. Thank you very much.
We will not have it here, but I haven't seen my crab today.
Yes, I also thought that it was quite incredible that the first leap that her imagination made was that anybody might conceivably consider having a Ziggy tattoo. And that she
that part
allow
cracked
it.
me up the most. That cracked me up.
I don't know which of those stretches credulity more, the thought that somebody would have a Ziggy tattoo, or the thought that she thought she could stop it.
Right. Both is equally hilarious.
I'm now dying to ask the chat if they have any sort of fandom tattoos, sort of music or films or actors or a particular piece of art. And more especially, do you have any tattoos that you regret? I don't have any tattoos. I'm not against them. I think that people should be able to do with their own body whatever they choose to do. But because of the particular thing that I have with getting infections at the drop of a hat, being tattooed is not, I'm not even meant to have blood taken out of particular limbs, so there's no way I'm having a tattoo. But I would love to know if you've got a tattoo that you now regret and you want to share, that would be fantastic because I'm fascinated by them. Or if you've got a fandom tattoo that something that you particularly have got a deep affection for. I know there's a whole slew of people who now have "Our Flag Means Death" tattoos, which I am a big fan, don't get me wrong, of the TV series. But even if I could have a tattoo, I wouldn't go as far as having a tattoo. That's a step too far for me. Oh, JBT, have you got regret?
JBT said an ex-wife's name. Oof.
Oh, really?
I about to said the same thing, the name of an ex. Yeah, you're never going to learn, huh? You didn't hear it's the kiss of death?
Did you get them covered or removed or? I've seen this program on TV where people have their sort of unfortunate tattoos covered over. And what amazes me is they come in with like these really small tattoos that they regret. I totally understand their stories as to why they regret them. And then the cover-ups are usually massive. It's just like, does it really need to be that big to cover up whatever was there before? Do you know what I mean? The sort of the TV shows.
Yeah.
saving for a cover-up, JBT? What are you going to have as a cover-up, Taylor? Taylor Swift.
See, there
You'll
would be no
always love
regrets there.
Taylor.
Oops.
I always feel like if you're gonna tattoo somebody's name on yourself, it should be your children's, because your children will always be your children. But
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. The problem with that is, had I done that, circumstance where your child changes their name.
oh, I didn't even consider that. See, now you've
So
given me more to think about.
yes. So you can be caught out with anything, no matter how rock solid you think something is.
Right?
I suppose actually what I would do is just add the additional name, but it is quite a sticky subject. You have to be very careful as to how people feel about it.
Yeah.
I see you checking. Lord, we even got Mr. Perps in the chat.
We got all the people today.
Mr.
Mr. Perps.
You know, Mr. Perps, just be careful what you're up to, okay? Because we don't mind a bit of clever trolling, but if it gets out of hand, you'll be escorted to the door. That's interesting. Queen OG has got tattoos, but doesn't like guys with tattoos.
I haven't got any tattoos not because I'm against them, so much as I have not seen any tattoo of yet that I want to forever have on my body. I change my mind too much.
I saw a fantastic tattoo, and obviously I didn't keep it because it's too personal to the person who had it done. Somebody who'd actually had to have a double mastectomy as a cancer survivor and had decided not to go the reconstruction route, which a lot of people don't, but had like a whole, if you imagine, almost like a vest top, but very short, pretty much like a bra shape, but it was all ornate little sort of Celtic knots and roses, and it was just beautiful.
Wow.
Absolutely gorgeous. And the person who did it spent hours and hours doing it. You knew that, I mean, tattoo artists do take their art seriously. If they've got anything about them, they do anyway. But the time and the effort that had gone into this, it was exceptional. And obviously that made that woman feel fantastic about it.
Mm-hmm.
Just don't put them on any parts that could sag, drop.
All the parts sag and drop eventually. I have one on my stomach of Abu from Aladdin. It was like a special thing with my dad. It was my first one.
That's
and
so cute.
When I was pregnant, it got so big. We were making McGilly gorilla jokes.
Oh my gosh. I'd get it on my ankle because I don't think your ankles can sag.
Can you imagine you have that don't worry, be happy, the old smiley face? And then you get old and stuff sags and it's all frowning.
I'm just imagining that Abu looks like Robert Plant now.
It went back to normal afterwards, but during, I was worried.
Did you use a lot of cocoa butter?
Yeah, but I'm weird about keeping oiled up and moisturized. I'm constantly putting on moisturizer.
She's like a slip and slide.
She's not. Mazikeen is not wrong.
I need to check.
You're not going to be sexy at 80, tattoos or not. That's the truth.
Right?
It's just the way it is. Those are facts.
I see some women out there that are 80. I can't think of their names right now.
Sophia Loren.
Yeah, but they're sexy for 80, but they're not.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
This is true.
Dutchie, you have 13? That surprises me.
Who has 13? Oh,
Duchess. Yeah. She's a very seemingly prim and proper Southern belle type.
I want
Cracks
one,
me
but
up.
they won't do one small enough for me. And I said, no, I don't want a huge one. I just want a little one. Yeah, don't do your face.
There's some
No.
really interesting scars that are scar tattoos that you can get that are amazing. You know, ones that are basically, they look like zips and fretwork and all sorts of things, all to cover up something that you would be self-conscious about.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the most amazing thing. The people that do that have an ungodly amount of talent.
They do.
That to me is amazing, rather than, you know, it turns an unfortunate thing into a fantastic thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, my son has a big scar that's kind of like a zigzag up his forearm, where he had to have surgery from a severe cut, and they had to go in and reconnect tendons and whatnot. And that's what I told him he should do is have that, you know, look like it's opened up, and then have, you know, they can do some amazing tattoos. I've seen some really cool ones.
Heather said she's
that
finding
they've done
herself
with
attracted
scars.
to guys with face tats. Heather, my ex, actually, the entire side of his face was tatted up.
Really? I
Yeah.
just can't.
But to look at him, a lot of people were like scared of him because he's kind of big, muscly too. But yeah, he was really nice most of the time. Most.
I got a sale in the merch shop, 20% off right now.
Well, I mean, women can go in and get their eyebrows tattooed. I think you can do eyeliner now, and I forget
I always
what
thought
else.
that's incredibly brave. I don't think that I could let
I know.
anybody put a
No.
needle in my eye.
No, I don't think so either.
That's
And
one
I'm
thing
not-
I would suggest strongly. You don't do on a drunken whim. You don't do on some sort of budget attempt. That's something you need to invest money and upkeep into. Please
And
do
I
not
don't
do
know
that to yourself.
I don't know if I'd rather just, there's ways to stencil in your eyebrows if you're having problems with that. Don't go get a tattoo on them, and then you might not like it later on in life. Plus,
I
when
love
you do
Ultra.
it,
Are we putting my nudes on t-shirts now?
Coming soon.
What do you mean now?
If you guys are if you guys are thinking about merch, hit this sale up soon. I got a notice that the prices are going up on that site, for, they say they got rising costs of ink or production or whatever, but I don't know what the new prices are going to go to, but that's something that's beyond my control. But
Pollyanna.
just FYI, I know that's coming in August, a price increase.
Stars, I can't imagine, because when you do get a tattoo, that area turns red. And I would think it'd make that part of your eye swell up. It'd look just real weird.
But your eyelids and your lips heal very, very quickly as well.
Oh, do
If
they?
they're very, yeah. It's a bit
I'm sorry,
like
you're not
having
touching
any
my
sort.
lips either.
Oh, we were going to do it after the show. What are you talking about?
That's like when you bite your tongue, isn't it? It really bleeds a lot, but it settles down really quickly.
I don't like those big old, look like wax lips that you used to buy. That's too above you guys. Too old for you guys.
I couldn't believe that Post Malone had "always tired" written underneath his eyes. My bags tell you that. I don't need writing for you to understand.
Ew,
that
they
I'm
tattoo
always
their
tired.
eyeballs? Why
No,
would you tattoo your...
underneath his
but
eyes.
Lenny
People
was
do
saying they
eyeballs,
tattoo.
yeah.
Ew, why?
Yeah,
Ew.
yeah, they'll put pigment into the white of the eye. It's weird.
You can
Oh.
tattoo every single layer of the eye because of the different liquids that are inside the eyeball.
Oh my god.
It's a tricky business.
I bet.
Not one I would be brave for, but fair enough if that's your jam.
That is enough. I mean, I would never tattoo them. If I wanted to change my eye color, I would get just contacts and just play with them that way. But no.
I love that message, JBT. But I'm also fascinated by this idea.
Oh God.
Oh my gosh. All this love for her and she's not even around to see it. Oh wait, she might be in the bushes.
She's around. Come on.
I
She's
know.
around.
She can't. I know. She can't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey,
She needs to know what there is to report to the manager.
I don't know what my tongue does while we're sleeping.
Apparently, mine
lip
often
locks.
continues to speak.
My husband did the other night. He never does that.
Marlena said, Heidi's there bashing me tattoo.
Shall we move on to the main meat of the evening, for want of a better term? This is why we've got the wonderful we up here, because we're a bunch of... We need to read up a little more on StreamYard, but certainly not in the last 5 minutes before we go live.
I'm going to say all the
Got a
naughty
bunch of-
things.
Hi, Nix.
We got a bunch of noobs.
We're obviously using this under fair use, so we will keep stopping. But I'm
Yes,
sure
I
everybody's
saw
got an
that,
opinion on
Nikita.
it.
And I do have a fair use disclaimer in the description. You let me
I'll
know when
save
you're
my-
ready for me to pop that up there. Are you ready now?
I'm ready whenever you are. You just tell me whenever you need me
Okay.
to stop and start.
Okay, brief
Okay.
intro into what this is. We all know, I would imagine, unless you've not been on the internet, you know about Zav Girl and the whole having the autopsy and crime scene photographs of Gannon Stoke behind a paid-for Patreon account. Most people seem to think that it's immoral. But of course, there's always somebody willing to defend, and you'll never guess who it is. Yep, it's Ziggy and Burn Barrel, her new friend, who seem to have, well, an interesting take on it. Should we listen?
Yep, it's Ziggy. That was great. Let's hear it.
I didn't check. Do you want this on normal speed or what would you like it? How would you like it? Tell me how you would like it. Hey.
I don't know. I
would-
would think probably 125 because there's going to be gaps if it's Ziggy.
Yeah.
But I don't want to go too fast because I want people to be able to hear what it actually says.
At first I was like, oh my God, I can't believe she did that and stuff because it's a child. But I started talking to K Crime and my opinions completely changed. Did you want to go ahead and start on what your feelings are?
Well, what I wanted to say was that it was not posted on YouTube. I would understand there being an issue if it was posted on a public platform as YouTube and in public viewing, but it wasn't. It was posted on Patreon, on her private, exclusive members only Patreon. And,
Right.
you know, you have, to me, I just feel like people are blowing this up into something that it's not. First off, she is a true crime channel. Why would you think a true crime channel would not want to talk about evidence or facts of a crime? I mean, that's what the whole point. That's her whole point of her channel.
See,
If you
and
don't like that
Fair
type of thing,
moment.
then you don't watch it.
Yeah, why do you need autopsy photos to talk about the evidence in a case? I mean, this is a case that has been decided. You don't need the photographs to even discuss the case. You just don't. Back in the day, didn't they use diagrams?
Well,
You
yeah,
know,
and
they mark
also
little.
let's think about how the true crime genre, how the true crime channels work in this sector. They break down into various groups. I mean, you get the people who will cover a crime as the story breaks, and they will
Right.
cover that crime pre-trial. You get people, which can also include the first group, who will cover the trial. And then afterwards, there are certain channels who will discuss a crime after a conviction has happened because they think there's a question over the person's guilt, or they might cover new evidence.
Right.
There are channels who cover it as a historical case, like that chapter, where they will do the whole story as a sort of narrative. And even though they give details of the crime, and sometimes will include body cam footage of the police approaching the crime scene, you will not
Right.
generally see actual crime scene photographs, and you will definitely not see autopsy photographs. So in this situation here with Letitia, there is no question over her guilt. She pled guilty by reason of insanity, but by her own admission, she was guilty. So there's no discussion about whether the evidence would show something different or there being a question over her guilt. There's none of that.
Right. I mean,
So there's no
if they
new
were
evidence to glean.
right, if they were going to debate something about that, the only debate would be whether people felt like she was sane or not. You know, but she admitted to doing what happened and resulted in those autopsy photos having to be autopsy photos. I mean, I just don't understand why that's needed. Plus, the fact that it could never be showed on YouTube anyway.
Well, no, but this whole argument that Burn Barrel is making about, oh, well, it's true crime. Wouldn't a true crime person be interested? No, the majority of them have a clear idea of what their audience is and what they're covering. And as you say, YouTube wouldn't cover it anyway. When she makes the distinction about it being on a different thing because it's on Patreon, let's not kid ourselves here. Zav Girl's Patreon is publicised, advertised, and sourced by her YouTube channel. Nobody goes on Patreon looking for a true crime creator and then comes across somebody and decides to pay money to be a patron of theirs. It doesn't happen. What happens is people follow the person on YouTube. They become interested in that person on YouTube. They may have membership to that YouTube channel. And then they decide for a different offering that they will join Patreon, sometimes for specialist chats, sometimes for things that can't be covered fully on YouTube. So the
Yeah, the other
Patreon,
day I went and looked at her about section on her channel, and the other day, indeed, the Patreon link was there. This was before Patreon shut her down, so I don't know if it's still there, but I know it was the other day.
I believe that they've disabled the link, and somebody said her actual whole Patreon has gone. So I think originally they disabled the link, and then I think there's been some question mark as to whether she can continue. But this notion that Burn Barrel is saying that they're two very different things it's a distinction without a difference. It's semantics. They are not. They are technically different sources of income, but they overlap so completely that it's just farcical to believe that there's no connection. People went over to her Patreon because of how she discussed things on YouTube. Now, she didn't even follow. She knew she couldn't get away with this on YouTube. She couldn't monetize it on YouTube because it would not get past the terms of service. But more interestingly, she tried to do this on Patreon, and she also went against their terms of service. I've actually got a very brief video where I just sort of screen captured the community guidelines that's in the back there, Eliza. I don't know
You want
whether
to?
you...
Yeah. Are you ready to see it now? I can put
Yeah.
it up right now.
Okay, these are the community guidelines for Patreon. I've shown the top. You don't need to read it because we're going to get down to the main bit in a minute. It covers lots of things: violent and graphic content, bullying, harassment, threats, hate speech, 18 plus creation and mature themes, by which they just mean sexual stuff. But as you go down, violent and graphic content, it is very specific here that you cannot show a dead body.
So definitely
Well, that was pretty cut and
violated
dry.
there.
Okay, section 3, depictions of violence against real humans, content depicting violent accidents or death and or human corpses. Okay, so without even getting into the rights or wrongs, she should not, it's completely outside the bounds of Patreon's community, quite rightly, community guidelines. So she wasn't even following Patreon's rules. It was, I don't understand her thinking at all that she thought this was going to fly. People go on about autopsy photographs being shown in books. I've never read a book that has had these sort of explicit autopsy photographs in. I mean, even if you think about the JonBenet Ramsey case, there were images shown that were autopsy images, but they were things like the rope around the wrist, rope at the neck. They were not the sort of detail here of a child that has been in a suitcase left outside in Florida for enough time for there to be serious decomposition. I heard somebody say, who had seen this, I have not looked and I have no intention of looking, that half of his face was gone. Why on earth would you want to put up a photograph like that anyway? Why would you think you could do it as a money-making venture?
The why is
Consequently,
the important part. The why. Because
yeah,
it'd be
apparently.
different if she had a speciality in a teaching background in biomedical sciences, forensics, any of those things. But again,
Right.
the people who do specialize in that stuff tend not to use it for performative value. They do not use it to make money for themselves. They have careers for that. They keep that sacred. To use it as a performative tool, which it was, and as a money-making grab, that's where it's distasteful. And it's the same conversation that we've had with another group of people about why morality does matter. Just because it's legal doesn't make it right. We should have boundaries. We should have. And this is a boundary I think a lot of people would hold, whether you're in this community or not.
Well, with the internet comes a need to change some laws. You know what I mean? Because of how much information can get out to so many people so quickly. And though I think that the FOIA law is a very good thing, I also think that there need to be exceptions with that, especially with these high-profile cases. You know, they're going to have to do something.
I agree, and I think that the prosecuting attorney or the judge, I don't know who specifically it would be, definitely missed a step in having this sealed. Now, what happens in that situation? You could still FOIA a sealed autopsy report, but you would have to go to court and make a legal challenge as to why you think you have the right to look if it was sealed. Now, it wasn't sealed, and that's how this has happened. But that step could have taken place. Somebody failed there, somebody dropped the ball. And I think that's quite a responsible step, that it would still be possible to FOIA that. Say, if you were involved in an innocence project or something like that, where you might actually need that sort of information, you could make a legal challenge to a sealed autopsy report. And I truly wish that that process had been done, so that somebody casually FOIAing like this, the process would have been sufficiently difficult that it would have stopped them. Because not only would you have the cost of going to court, and you'd have to travel and all this sort of thing, I don't think that you would be able to put any sort of compelling argument as to why you should get access to them.
Yeah.
And I don't
agree with you.
think that the profile of the case should particularly matter in that subject, because it shouldn't matter whether you're Joe Blogs or whether you've had the unfortunate eventuality to have your face all over international press. It shouldn't matter. One of the reasons that Pearl and I are in this sector is that UK laws, especially Northern Irish laws, we have very, very strict laws over here, but UK laws in particular, especially around minors, are almost enshrined. They are golden. You could literally kiss your backside goodbye if you perform such a task. And there are people who still do that, but they face legal consequences for their actions. Sharpish. It doesn't matter who you are. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what your intention is. That's enshrined for safety
our
purposes.
court process has pulled people off Twitter and made them come to court for things that they've done. Particularly in the case of Jamie Bulger, who was a small boy who was taken by two other larger but still small boys, and who ended up dead on the railway track. There's a whole protection order around those now adult offenders. And there have been several cases where people have named the alternate identity of one of these two boys, or has said what area of the country they're in, and then people have faced legal consequences. Zav Girl, well, not only do I not think she would have got access, but had she somehow managed to get access by some nefarious means and had done this in the UK, yikes, the legal consequences would have been spectacular.
And I think that people have the right to expect some dignity in death. You know what I mean?
Correct.
That should be a common thing.
Surely
I
shouldn't
agree
matter
with
whether
that.
you're an adult or a child either. That's where I think this is all very difficult. It's good we're having a conversation. If anything can be taken good out of this, is that a lot of people weren't aware, even in America, that this could be a possibility. And I think that that is a very good thing. The only way we get laws changed is by being aware of the problem and enacting upon them, by changing it, by mobilizing it, by making the change. At the end of the day, we elect officials to enact our will as a people. So it's up to us to make that change. So if there's anything good that can come out of this, is that we can ensure as a group effort that this doesn't happen again.
Right. Use your voices to say it's not acceptable.
Yeah, I agree with that. These conversations are very important conversations to have, especially in this day and time, just because the access, the reach of these creators. I mean, you got to think, Zav had almost 100,000 subs, and then those people, could or may not have been involved with the Patreon, but then they may or may not have also taken screenshots or downloads, you know what I mean, and passed it on again. And it's just,
Right.
I feel so terrible for the family in this situation.
Yeah.
Something
It's like
needs to be done. These are
you
very
can't put
important conversations.
You can't put the toothpaste back in the tube, and that's the problem with this. Is
Well, no, and
that
now you have a
once
situation
it's out,
where
it's out. Pearl?
Sorry, darling. I thought you were still talking. I was trying not to
No.
speak over you. And now you have a situation where Natasha Recliner, I can never remember what her surname is,
Cooper.
has essentially just taken the contents of the video and was also making money off them. I believe that the pictures are now all over Reddit. Very much you cannot put the toothpaste back in the tube. That little boy is never going to have dignity now. These things will circulate for years and will come up. And I don't know how anybody listened to his mother and father give their victim statements, which were absolutely heartbreaking, and could do this. It's not a matter of being interested in true crime. There are no question marks over this conviction. There are no question marks over the cause of death. This is just pure interest, wanting to see because you can.
Shock value is what it felt
Shock
like.
value.
Trying to make money off of shock value. There were several creators I know that went and paid the money because they wanted to see if it was for real. If this is really what happened, so then they could. So don't go. Don't.
Well, I think that there's definitely a group of people that have a morbid curiosity about these things, because I remember, back when I was younger, there were those Faces of Death videos, and more recently there's like that rotten.com and stuff like that, where you can see all of that gore. But this is so icky.
This is the problem right here. You see, she doesn't know if it's a fact, but possibly there's been 8,000 downloads of that. 8,000 downloads.
Oof.
But those
And like I
8,000
said,
downloads
they'll all
would
pass
be
it on.
that would be very different if they were for teaching purposes. They were properly presented with a coordinating expert opinion that would be detailed and accurate, specific. That's a very different set of circumstances. There's a time and a place for all things. YouTube is not that. YouTube is not that place for all things. And I wish people would realize that. That's why YouTube tells you to keep your private information private. Because once things are out there, you can't get them back. It doesn't matter how minor it is. And this is one of those things. This is an outlier, but it's important. It's very important. At least rotten.com, you had to go and actively search that site out. I think there are a lot of people who will have been Patreons who may not have been aware of the graphic nature of the content they were about to view. And that's where there is also a case to answer. Whenever the very people who are supporting content providers feel in their duty of responsibility, and we all have responsibilities here, all of us. You don't need to be a professional to have that level of responsibility. You just need to be a human being.
I think as well, something that has really frustrated and annoyed me is Zav Girl's complete failure to interact with the reality of how gross this is. I know that Brian Enton reached out to her and wanted her to come on, or at least comment, send a comment, whatever, gave her the right of reply. And I gather she didn't make any contact with him. So she didn't want to acknowledge publicly what had happened. And now she's trying to reach out to Gannon's mom. And it just strikes me that her only reason for doing that is as an ass covering thing. If she had any concerns for the feelings of Gannon's family, she wouldn't have done this at all.
Right.
It's a bit late in the day to be worrying about what Gannon's mother thinks of all this now. Don't tell me
I
that.
saw.
Karen,
I'm
darling.
sorry.
No, darling, Karen.
I saw somebody, said that she never covered the case. And perhaps that might be a bit of the problem. Had she covered the case and watched that case, I don't know how you could watch the coverage of that case and hear all that and then be able to do something like this. So that's a big part of the problem, perhaps. Why now? Why the sudden interest now? And that's what you choose to cover?
And
It
yeah, for
doesn't.
anybody who doesn't know, we actually have somebody in the chat, Kim here, attended the trial on at least 2 occasions that I know of, and saw in real time with her own eyes the impact that this trial was having on the family. Even if Zav Girl didn't cover the trial, I don't watch Zav Girl, so I'll take your word for it. But whether she did or not, there was a point at which, even after she applied for all this information, okay, even up until then, I can sort of accept that she was just unknowingly making a mistake. But there was a point at which she looked through all of those things and she made a video. Now, any of you who make videos will know that is not a quick procedure. Even a few minute video, even if you just do it over the top of your head, showing images and talking over them, it is not a quick procedure. At every stage, she looked at individual things and she carried on. And that is why I cannot accept suddenly now that there are regrets. There were so many points at which she could have made a different decision. I cannot relate to this conversation that's happening now. It's not about my personal feelings towards Ziggy. I know nothing about Burn Barrel. I have no judgment against her whatsoever, but I think her opinion is absolutely rubbish. It doesn't hold together in any way. And why she's convinced herself that it's okay escapes me. I don't know whether you want to listen to another section of them or.
Yeah, I was just about to hit play on your command, my liege. I wanted to add in 2 little things, and I'll keep them short and quick. Like everything, people in their emotions can be a wee bit harsh at times and get a bit carried away with themselves because they're typing with their feelings. We've seen that today, for example. When people say some things that I would hope they would not say to anyone else. I would hope they wouldn't, and I would hope they would apologize for those. But there is, just because you're correct on a topic doesn't give you the opportunity to also cause damage. I have seen 2 things be repeated. One is that, well, if Zav Girl had children, if she was a mother, she would not have done that. I don't think that's a fair statement to make. I
don't think it is. I would have had the same feelings about it before and after having children.
Yeah.
It's about the concept of the morality of it.
Correct.
I don't need to have experienced childbirth myself to understand that another woman would not want her murdered child in glorious technicolor out on the internet for people to ogle over.
Mother, father, brother, sister. I mean, it's all of the things. All of the things.
Best
That's
friend.
where I think there's no that argument defeats itself. And then the other one that I've heard repeatedly is that, well, isn't that CP? Now, I'm not using the words on purpose, but I hope that most of you have been around YouTube enough to be with me here. I think that should be patently obvious, even if you find those images distasteful, as most of us do, objectionable, as most of us do, presented in the way that they were, that is not CP. That is equally disgusting to compare those 2 situations. Please don't do that. Please don't put that upon that child. Please don't put that upon other victims. Please don't.
I can
Just
speak. Oh, go ahead.
No, go on ahead, love.
No, you go ahead and finish. I thought you were done.
No, all I was going to say is just because there is a naked body part is not the equivalent of CP. It's just not. There are very clear definitions into what makes that. And if for those of you that don't know, please go and read about it. Don't take my word for it. Please don't. Go and find out. But I think it's very harmful and equally damaging to this discussion to misrepresent the story in that way. To either make it seem like because she hasn't had children or because they're alluding to it being something else. And that's not it. That's not the problem.
Do you know what's the sad thing, Widow? I can actually believe that she's sincere in saying that. And shall I tell you why I believe that? Because one of the few times that I've watched Zav Girl, she was quite happy to have somebody up on her channel talking about Kylie Rodney as if Kylie Rodney was not a real human being, but just a story. Some sort of conspiracy for GoFundMe's or some other reason. Just some entity, not a real living, breathing girl who had the misfortune to drive into the water and drown. And once you can show to me that you consider human beings to be Sims that you can discuss without any thought about their humanity, then I have no problem believing that you might regard your family as sort of Sims. Congratulations on showing us that you're a sociopath.
Right?
Going back to Crispy Treat's comment about she has to be allowed to apologise. Of course, at some point, she needs to consider moving forwards and she needs to apologise. But the concern is, to me, if it's not genuine or authentic, or it actually leads to any change in behaviour, then it's just a word. It's just sorry. And if I believe that it's meaningless to her and easy to her, why should I accept it and take it seriously? Why do I have to
Do you
take
guys
her
think she can come
feelings
back from this?
seriously? I wouldn't put anything past true crime. I think it would be a matter of sitting it out, unfortunately.
Good point.
I would like to see her account gone, but I know
I
what
would
will
too.
happen. It will be a case of, well, it didn't technically happen on YouTube, blah, blah, blah. She probably brings in too much advertising money, given that she's so close to getting her play button.
Right?
See, I agree with Lip Block that she said the dark web will definitely use it as CP. I think what makes it really CP is the hands of who's it in, right? Because you and I can look at a photograph of a child in a bathtub and, think it's cute and that sort of thing, and somebody else wouldn't have those same thoughts.
Yeah, well, this is the thing. You're talking about the difference between a legal threshold
Right.
and the way that the human mind works. I could see my kids running around the garden, butt naked when they were 18 months old, in and out the paddling pool, a sort of covered garden. It's just kids being innocent. Some other person could see two little kids with butt naked because her kids are for taking stuff off, in and out the paddling pool and get the jollies off. That's a problem with their brain. Obviously, these pictures don't meet the legal threshold of being passed on as child pornography, but I agree with it, Locked. You will always find some perverted mind out there.
Right, but then that's why there has to be responsibility, checks and balances at all levels, not just the court level, not just YouTube as an entity, but us as well. We are a key part of that. We are a big part of that. Who we choose to sub to, what we choose to go and watch. That makes a huge difference in whether you think somebody gets away with something or whether there is a consequence.
Mm-hmm.
We do have power there. We can't stop what has happened, but there is
Do you
power to
think
make
that
a
this?
change.
Do you think this will change things as the true crime community moves forward?
I hope it does. I hope it causes people to take a moment and stop and think about what they're doing and the consequences that it can have on the people that they're talking about and digging into their lives and that sort of thing. I don't think it'll change it a ton, but I hope it does. If it could change it a little, it would help because it's gotten so awful.
Do you know what's really sad? My surprise that there were only a small handful of people like Ziggy and Burn Barrel that came out and supported her. I was almost surprised. I was surprised that there was so much condemnation. And I think that says everything about the current environment that we're in, that I didn't expect as much outrage as that has actually been.
Right. People don't typically agree with us, so when we're out thinking
Right.
it, usually it's like, those idiots over there, who do they think they are? We'll do what we want. But yeah, there's a lot that actually had the same opinion as we do as far as that's concerned. And I was actually pleased to see that. But yeah, that is definitely how we can make it change is you as a subscriber. If somebody is behaving in such a outrageous way and making outrageous claims or going way too far, you as a subscriber can hit that button that says unsubscribe. Don't just hit that X, but hit that unsubscribe when
Yeah, because
they're no longer bringing you the content.
YouTube is notoriously lax on a lot of people doing some slimy stuff. You know what I mean? So we have to do what we can to try and police that ourselves. It sucks.
Yeah.
Oh Lord, let me put a preface on that. We are not the YouTube police. That is not what I meant.
No.
Nino.
Who am I? Hello, officer. I'd like to file a report.
The Pooh channel? The Pooh channel? You always start there, work your way up.
Shame on you, crispy treat. You said a whoring, Betty.
Says a lot about Zav's character. Because I could not put a child's photos out like that. I just couldn't.
It does.
It is one thing that Betty also supported. Somebody go let that person in, whoever they are.
Somebody's knocking on somebody. We know whose window that is.
It sounded like the police.
Right? Hey, they're here already. Well done, Heidi. Hey.
Damn, that was quick.
It's one thing that Betty also supported because in her, now she was, I'll give her dues. I do not agree with her very often, but she was very clear about her terminology in this circumstance. Her opinion and my opinion are vastly different, but she kept it very accurate for a short part, and that was to say that if the information is out there to be requested, that someone will request it. We, as the public, don't have any control over who that is. If anything, this brings to light something that is more common. We just happen to be getting front row seats this time of something that is happening. Somebody who has put it behind a paywall, but you don't know whether Joe Soap down the road has gone and got those. Would that make it more or less distasteful? Would you know what they're going to be doing with those pictures either? And that's where there is a discussion to be had, one that is really important for this community. And I think that there's no quick answer. There's no quick and easy answer because there's a lot of variables in this. And most of it is governed by our morality, not by legal issues. It's what we accept. At the end of the day, a creator will only put out what people are going to go and watch, what they will choose to partake in. So if you aren't there, taking part in it, paying for it, that sends a message, a very clear message. And just to keep it 100, just to give the legal framework, the jerks are not recommending that anybody go and directly defund anyone or cancel anyone or do any of that
Oh, no.
stuff. It's a discussion topic and just being clear about what we can do, what choices we have as people. That's all. You know me, I'm a stickler for the deets. Sorry.
No, you're
Well,
good. That's one of your strengths. I like that about you.
It upsets people, but sorry about it.
That and the giggle, my two favorite things.
Okay, you want me to press play?
Yes.
I can press
please.
play better than I can speak. I can promise you that. Hey.
So she's not even password protected. Anyone could see them. So Cat Levin said, no, I don't feel bad at all. The most sickening thing I've ever come across on YouTube, just my opinion. Okay. At first I was like,
it came across on YouTube. It didn't come across on YouTube. It wasn't on YouTube. It was on Patreon, a completely separate platform. Yes, she did use her YouTube to promote it and to let people know it was there. Now, maybe that's where her morals may have kind of crossed the line by using a public platform as YouTube to promote it. But it was on a private Patreon channel. Like, it was not like a public channel. And I understand you say it wasn't password protected, but the thing is, you have to pay to be a member of Patreon. You just can't go on Patreon and anybody's channel and watch them. You have to be an exclusive member and pay for a membership to be. It's similar to OnlyFans. And that's the type of stuff that's on Patreon. Patreon is a different level where you could actually talk about things you can't talk about on YouTube.
Can I just say the OnlyFans discussion absolutely blows my mind. OnlyFans is creator orientated into the fact that the person selling you images or behaving in a certain way has the autonomy to make that decision because it's their body. There is no comparison between somebody of their own free will deciding to share their body with you for an amount of money and the decomposing body of a murdered child. How do you make that rational comparison? Blows my mind.
it's still a platform. Well, okay, Bella, see, I understand what you're saying. Trust me, because at first I was like, I really disagreed with what K Crime was saying until she mentioned when she started talking about, these are public records, guys. Why are we blaming Zav Girl for exposing this? It wasn't law enforcement shouldn't have released it if it was gonna be
right,
offensive.
Right, it could have been.
Ziggy's mad she didn't think of doing this first.
Right. Now, this is the creator who started her channel releasing what was supposedly a report, not a report, but direct information from somebody connected to the case, not connected. It was a whole muddy, chaotic cesspit of a report and information we still question the validity of. It's no surprise that Ziggy endorses this, and I can understand why to an extent. Her choice of wording here is at best ineloquent, but there's a commonality here for them both. Ziggy's been here before. That's where she's addressing this in her mind. She thinks, well, if I'd have had the chance, if I'd have got in there, I would have shared it also. And that's sad. That's a very sad state of affairs.
but not surprising.
No. No.
No, if she thought she could have sold those jail calls, she would have sold them. I mean, Ziggy's upset she didn't think of it first.
And one thing is that I was saying about the terminology there is Ziggy said law enforcement should not have allowed that. That's not law enforcement's option. That's a court issue.
Right,
That's
the
a
court would have had to
judicial
seal it.
issue.
Yep.
Not up to any police or officer in the land, no matter how high up they are. So for her to term it in that way shows her lack of knowledge on this subject. That's why it was poor. That's why I will give Betty her credit that she had at least thought some of this through a bit better. I still don't agree with her point of view, but she had at least put the effort into working through some of it. This,
Right, at least
not
hers
so much.
was factual.
Yeah.
Exactly. It could have been redacted. We see so many reports that have things redacted. If they felt it was something that shouldn't have been seen, then they could have redacted it. They redact things all the time. This is evidence, though. My opinion is it's a evidence of a crime. Unfortunately, and I don't, please do not take what I say at all like against Ziggy in any way, because my opinion is completely different than hers. But I feel like, once the person dies, their body is no longer them. Now their body is evidence. Unfortunately, this is a child, but evidence is evidence. And if you're interested in true crime and you want to know the facts about a crime, you may want to see evidence of a crime. And unfortunately, this child's body was a piece of evidence at the time.
If you watched the trial, you saw everything and more than you needed to know. This using the study of true crime as an excuse, I find really distasteful, because it's reflecting on all of us in true crime would want to see them. I don't believe that that's true. I don't believe that seeing them offers anything now to the understanding of this case. We had explicit descriptions via the medical examiner. Everything that you needed to know was there in the trial. To have to see the images yourself and to discuss them, even sort of nonsense about, oh, is that a thread? And oh, it's a maggot, all this sort of business that I've heard. It's just disgusting. This is not about studying a crime. This is about not really understanding humanity. It's very blunt. You might think that you're being so impartial and so scientific to say, oh, well, it's not a human it's not a human being anymore. It's not a person, it's evidence. It ceased to be evidence when it was handed back to the parents. It's not an it's a little boy. His name was Gannon. His parents took him back and laid him to rest. And now you're regarding his remains as something just to be discussed and looked at. I don't understand you.
And one person on that particular clip had drawn a parallel to what had been shown in the court case. And yes, if you looked at the tilted images on the screens in the televised court proceedings, you could see parts of an image. That was done very deliberately. As Pearl made it explicitly clear, if you paid attention, you were told all of the details. All of them, more than any lay person could ever wish to know. And I hope to God most people forget them. I hope they do, because nobody should want to have that in their minds. But again, these people aren't professional people. They aren't people with the expertise to decipher the difference between a thread and a maggot. They aren't the people with the know-how to be able to present that knowledge in a clean, factual, non-sensational way, and certainly not behind a paywall for shits and giggles.
And there's certainly a way
really,
that you can do it and release the information without releasing the photos. Like they could just release the report. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be so icky.
Right.
The whole thing, really boils down to, yeah, she got him legally. It's that's all true because it wasn't sealed. But the real question is, just because you can doesn't mean you should. Do people not ask themselves that anymore? Like, is this a good idea? Do you not stop and ask yourself before you do something like that?
Chris Rock used to have a joke, and the punchline was that you can drive a car with your feet, but you probably shouldn't,
Right. Exactly.
Right. That's where our morality does matter. There's a certain person that wants to make a joke out of that and then poke at a similar sensitive topic belonging to another person, saying that there is nothing to stop them from going and doing it. That's part of the good thing of this discussion, is that it shouldn't matter whether you're an unknown person or someone with a high profile case. There should be limits to what we as a sector, as a community, as people want to partake in. If you wanted to learn the clinical details, that can be done. That doesn't need to be done on YouTube. It doesn't need to be talked about again on YouTube. That has already been discussed by experts. Why do it in this way?
I love this comment. I can't think of a better description than this comment here. At this point, it's macabre self-indulgence. It absolutely is. There is no logical or scientific reason or true crime pass that you can give to say that this is a reasonable thing to do. It may not be illegal, but it is not reasonable. And I just think it's immoral.
And highly disrespectful. Highly disrespectful to that little boy.
Highly disrespectful.
And his family.
And the family, yeah.
Yes. All that loved him and knew him.
And now the
you guys
same
know,
trauma.
like my personal situation, and I can't imagine. I can't.
Right. Right.
And it's sadly very common in this sector as well. There's a lot of people in this sector who have huge personal traumas in their lives. And that's where, again, we can enact a change, because I know I wouldn't want it for my family. I wouldn't want it for Tanga's family. I don't want it for Gannon's family.
I'm picking up on this point here that Saucy Jack the Ripper is making. That is, I love that name. This is an extreme case. You're correct. And part of the problem with what Zav Girl has done is that for those people who have a natural inclination to restrict freedom of access to things, this has played right into their hands. I would like to see, as I've said, these things to be automatically sealed, so that if you were going to try and make an argument for access to them, you would have to go to court, get a court order. I think that would be the way forward, because it doesn't take away completely people's freedom of access. It limits it to constructive reason. I firmly believe in the Freedom of Information Act, both in this country and in America. I think that it is one of the valuable liberties that America shows the rest of the world.
Anything.
Sorry, darling.
I was just going to say, it took an extreme case to make everybody stop and look at this and think about it, but it's going to help people that didn't have a voice that this may have happened to, on a much smaller scale, that wasn't part of a high profile case, but to protect them that may not have had a voice or a way of figuring out how do you stop this? I mean, it's crazy. So that's all I'm thinking, is that it has definitely gotten the attention of many. I mean, nationwide, it hit national news last night, right? Where it was discussed. So
yes, and that
I
makes
think
me hopeful
on that,
it's starting to.
it does. It makes me hopeful too that the people that may not have such a voice or know what can they do to stop it or prevent it or whatnot, will be protected in the future. And I really hope for that.
Hey, TJ.
Hey, Tits.
Hey,
Hey,
tits.
Tits, TJ.
She came in here and said that Wee's laugh on 2X is the best.
Hey, I just got home, y'all. Sorry I'm late.
Hey, TJ.
Hey,
We understood,
TJ.
darling.
We were just listening to Tweedledum and Dumber.
Oh, I guess
I'm
I know
just
who
glad
that
you're
is.
here.
That's her pet name for me, TJ. But I'm glad that you're here because I have been bullied. It's horrendous.
You have? Oh, bless
I've
your
been
little wee
bashing her.
heart. Bless your little wee heart. Who do I need to beat up?
I need to listen
Tanqueray.
to We on 2
Tanqueray.
times speed.
You go get in the corner,
Yeah, it
honey.
wasn't me. It was not me, TJ. Do not.
Okay.
It's
Tanqueray,
I
you
didn't do
get
it
in the
either.
corner.
I'm innocent.
Oh, Bugsy, I know you always innocent, girlfriend.
Won't even say her name.
I was bad earlier.
Oh, gosh, it was a crazy day at work, but I finally got out of there.
Wow.
Have you been
Gannon's
listening?
father.
Oh, go ahead.
Gannon's father is going to be on with Brian Enton at 8 Central Time.
Very good.
He's a very eloquent man, and I'm sure he will have a lot to say.
He had already made a very short statement, and I'm not either brave enough or shy enough to admit that it broke me, because I can still remember his words even in court, and I can
Yes.
envisage him in my head. So even reading that small snippet, I could feel it all over again. And
Yes.
that part is the part that we should feel when we talk about this. That part is the part that makes us do better in future.
You're right.
TJ, have you been listening? TJ? Okay, we can listen to some more if you guys want.
I'm going to take that as a, well, not really. It should be back in a minute. Right, let's press play.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
what it
and
is.
law enforcement released it to her. She didn't go steal it.
Yes.
She didn't, she didn't.
Well, shit to bed.
wasn't
I just kicked
didn't have like
myself off.
exclusive rights to these photos that nobody else had. It's public. Everybody could have gone and requested it. We, my anger was misdirected. We need to change laws or something if we're not gonna, with maybe minor autopsy photos being. She put it on, and I think the paywall thing was, I agree with K Crime, an extra protection to make sure people just don't stumble upon it. And the password protected thing.
Bullshit. The paywall was not extra protection. If she was concerned about extra protection, she would have password protected it.
Right.
Once she got the payment, she didn't really give a damn what you did with it.
Okay, sorry, I kicked myself off. What was you asking me, Tanga?
And I was asking if you had been listening. I was wondering if you had any thoughts.
Oh, I have some thoughts, but they're just.
Are they jumbled at the moment?
Yes, I'm trying to get myself.
We'll give you a minute to get your bearings.
Yeah. I did watch a little bit of Ziggy when she had that. I don't know what that lady's name is, the burning barrel or whatever.
That's what we're watching now.
Okay.
So
yeah.
Go ahead.
We're reviewing.
I did
What
watch
were
a
you going to
little bit
say?
of that, but I didn't stay long because it was making me nuts. So go ahead, y'all. Sorry.
Understandable. No, you're fine. I asked.
The
Yeah, that's
conversation of it, though, I know I keep using that term because that's how I think there is part of what Ziggy is saying there. Part of it, and God knows that kills me. That there is truth to that. She had mentioned some ire initially. She had on the fact that, well, I thought it was illegal, and then she showed them, and then I realized it wasn't, so it's not a problem, right? But then if we need to change laws, we need to change laws. People forget that the same state, the very same state, this is where there is a judicial responsibility as well as humanity's responsibility. In the Watts case, the judge sealed those pictures. The judge did. For that exact reason. That's why you can only imagine, look at the Chris Watts community and how that is still burning a fire through this sector. If those very creators who still talk about certain aspects of that case, no matter how invalid they may be to this day, they would have those pictures up there in a heartbeat.
exactly, Carol. And I brought that up earlier. Or it's not just the people that got it; it's who they sent it to. You know.
Right.
Well, the one thing that I heard was the barrel lady had said, well, I'm sorry, I don't remember her name.
It's brilliant, though.
Is it the burning barrel or the burning bush? I don't know.
Beats me in the bucket, lady.
The burning bucket? Okay. Well, anyway, whatever her name is, when she was up there, she was talking about how the parents, they should have requested that those records be sealed and that it was their responsibility to have that done so that all of this didn't get out. And then as soon as the chat started jumping on her and saying, oh, it wasn't their, then she backtracked and said, well, it really was the lawyer's responsibility to do that. And he didn't do it. And that's why it happened. Well, when she started off on that, I'm just like, okay, I'm done. And so I left. That's what I heard.
That's why I brought up the Watts case, because it's comparable. It didn't take there to be a petition made to the court to have those records sealed. The judge did that as a preventative measure. And I think if you, especially for the states that do have the more open access to court records, there needs to be maybe a few more checks and balances there to make sure that the ability for this to happen again isn't repeated, because once the seal has been broken once, you can guarantee now this will happen again unless we do something about it. We as people, not us as just the people in this channel, we as the people in this entire sector have to make a change here.
Yes, and Six Up had brought up earlier when we were over there that the prosecutor and the DA definitely dropped the ball here. I just feel so terrible for the family.
Right.
I just can't imagine.
Burn Barrel's defense here, the "you should have stopped me" defense, is one I haven't heard since my kids got over 10.
Right?
We didn't start the barrel fire. Da, 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 da.
It reminds me of the burning barrel. I mean, that's what we take trash out to set on fire.
Same, it's a country thing.
Yeah, that's what it reminds me of. I guess I don't know if that's what her.
Where you take the trash.
Yeah.
Shocking that's where Zig ended up, huh?
Well, and her little burning barrel has a little toxic symbol on it, so there is that.
Fair warning.
Like, that's even, to me, if it wasn't password protected and anybody can go on it, then that even, to me, makes me side with Zav even more because, you know, I don't know. I don't know how Patreon works. I have never had one, but it was not blurred out.
It's a platform that is used for a lot of things. You can go on there. There's tons and tons of autopsy and medical channels on there that you can subscribe to, where the whole channel is only autopsies and children's autopsies. So this is not something that is unfamiliar.
I don't believe
when
that
it
for a
comes to
moment.
Patreon. That's what Patreon is for. It's a
Okay, if that's true, why are the community guidelines explicit in saying that you can't show a dead body? And if that's true, why did they take down the link? And why did they suspend her Patreon? I believe that the technical term here is you're talking out of your arse.
Yeah. Bottom of the barrel.
a platform where you could add any type of topic to it.
I don't know if she's really trying to make a buck any way she can. So you guys know Zav Girl's channel is one of the most popular channels in the true crime, community as far as, going live and stuff. She makes really good money over there. I don't think it's really a money thing. I feel horrible for her. I feel like this is something that people would unalive themselves over. I mean, I'm serious. I know this is.
It's not a money thing, then why does she have a price on it? If it's not a money thing, you wouldn't have a price on it.
That's where I think she lost a whole lot of people at that point.
And that last thing that she just said, like that's should be anybody's responsibility. What about how the parents' mental health is over this? Sorry, nope.
You can miss me with that. I am absolutely sick of, well, what if they harm themselves? Being used as a defense as to why you should never ask people to step up and face what they've done.
Right? You don't have to be held accountable because, no, you made that decision. It makes me so mad.
There's so much to unpack in that sentence. And look, we all know Ziggy sentences are a construct of time and space, but in that case, she managed to squeeze in so much that she tied whether it was correct to the money, to the popularity, and then victim shifting onto a situation again where my problem was with the incorrect terminology of the CP argument. That has never been a discussion. You have to be able to correct something in an accurate fashion. It should be able to be done with cool heads, with discussion, if when needed, in order to make sure this doesn't happen again. There's no need for pitchforks at dawn. None. But whenever there's inflammatory language used, simply to evoke a very basic human response like that should be a problem for a lot of people. That was never mentioned. That was never part of that. It wasn't part of the discussion.
Why are we so concerned with the possibility of the person who did this suddenly having huge doubts about what they've done? I want to see them have doubts. I don't want to see them hurt themselves. But I don't see the problem with making them aware of public feeling about it. I don't see these two women here showing any compassion for the impact this is going to have on Gannon's family, or any concern that one of them might hurt themselves in some way. Why are you so worried about the person who brought this all down her own head?
Exactly that. Exactly that. That just doesn't make sense. You're
Or at
shifting
least,
responsibility.
can't we do both? Can't we do both? Can't we have the discussion and hopefully do it in a manner where we aren't, making it unnecessarily vile, again, as some of us have witnessed in other parts today? If it was done in a way where there could be corrective measures taken, again, you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. I'll use Pearl's terminology there rather than my own. But once it's done, it's done. It doesn't matter whether there's an accounting to be taken for that now, in 5 years' time, 10 years' time, 20. Who knows? But we as a community should be allowed to have our opinion about it. We should be able to have the discussion. To victim blame and twist it away from the very people who we should be concerned about, that's where it's strange. What, because she has money? What? Is that where we are?
Yeah, that's a very messed up.
Dramatic.
Go ahead.
But yeah, like
I don't know how you could say that it wasn't
Nation going after her.
right, but I don't say that how it would be, the password wasn't protected. Like for you, you have your own password to get into the channel in the first place that you pay to see her channel. So, I mean, I don't understand what people are saying where it wasn't password protected.
Now I do understand.
I stopped that on purpose because I thought Pearl would want to drive that point home. There is a clear difference between what is accessible content for all Patreons and what is password protected. There is a very big difference there. There are many other creators who have a range of backgrounds who disseminate a variety of information in hundreds of different media. This is not an isolated event. It's new to this sector, but it's not new. It has been done before in different ways. That's why it's important for us to talk about it, to make sure we don't see this as a common occurrence. Otherwise, it will be. We will be surrounded by it. So yes, there's a big difference between password protecting something and having it open to all Patreons.
Like, is it something that I would do? No, because it's a minor. Okay, I get it. But I think we're taking out the anger on the wrong person. I feel like we need to. Why was it even released to her in the first place? Right. If it wasn't released to her, then she would have never been able to put that out there. It's any of us can. I see many of you guys saying, "Oh well, if people want to see them, then they could have requested them or whatever." And I get it, but they just should never have put it out in the first place. That's it. Really, that's how it goes. I mean, there's just nothing else. Why didn't? Did they ask the family if it was okay? I don't know. If I was a family, I hope so.
Yes, Ziggy. They asked the family, and the family said, yes, it's fine. For God's sake, what do you think happened?
Of course, the family wouldn't be fine with that.
Well, this was all evidence. The thing is, what she requested was, the trial evidence. And that was part of it. So this is not something that the parents, unless they chose not to see it or to not be in the courtroom at the time that, this evidence was presented. But this was all evidence in.
Maybe, I don't know if Kim's still here, but I recall at the time of these pictures being shown that Landon was not present in the courtroom. I recall that. I could be misconstruing the facts there, and if someone has a corrected version, I will happily take it on, but that's the recollection I remember. I know that the screens were tilted on purpose so that you could avert your gaze. It wasn't directly in anyone's face. There were measures taken at the time to ensure that minimal damage could be done. It has to be shown to certain people. It's unfortunate. It's not an enjoyable experience for anyone, no matter how battle worn a prosecutor may be, or a jurist, or anyone. That it's difficult.
Didn't they offer counseling for the jurors at the end of this trial because of all they had to see and hear? Yeah, Kim says she left. You're right.
Thank you. I thought she had left, and because it was particularly for those images, she had stayed for a whole lot of the detailed clinical definitions and explanations, but not the pictures. And I can understand that. I think anybody who's ever lost anyone could understand that. It doesn't need to have been in such unique circumstances. And now she's going to have it in her head whether it wants to be there or not.
Yeah, my heart breaks for that family. It really does. They went through so much to get through that trial. And then to have this come back up again, it just breaks my heart.
In this court case. And that's all she brought out was all the evidence in it. I honestly, but I have a different kind of channel than a lot of people. I talk about true evidence, and it may offend people when I talk about things like that. But I feel like if you are talking about a crime, how could you censor and redact things when you just want to talk about the truths in a crime?
Yeah.
I understand that she could have herself censored some of it for her Patreon viewers.
Yeah.
Maybe that would have been a little bit more wise of her to do, but she chose to show the evidence 100% as it was shown in court. And
yeah, I'm surprised by all this because Zav Girl's been I feel like one of the most popular, most liked channel in this
What
kind
does
of
popularity
area.
have to do with anything? So
None.
she gets more of a pass because she's got a higher number of subscribers. What the hell is this mentality?
It's not how it works. Not how any of this works.
No, it should never be how it works. Again, that's why I brought up the thing about it shouldn't matter whether you're never been heard of by anyone or whether your case has been all over the news. We have to have some sort of limits.
Burn
Yes,
Barrel is making a false dichotomy here. She says that she's interested in evidence and she'd talk about everything. Talk about it to your heart's content. Show the paperwork if you want to that has the little diagram that says what injuries. but actual photographs of the remains of a little boy do not need to be examined, narrated over in such an infantile way, and sold.
Too, and I've never seen anybody really go after her. This is a first. So, but I don't know. I would like to know if she asked any, confided with anybody or asked anybody their opinion before posting it, because I wouldn't have done it. I wouldn't have done it. I get what you guys are outraged about. I do, but at the same time, I just, like I said, I don't know why.
Well, my whole thing is, if you're into true crime and you want to see those kind of things, then you go and you see it. People do not have to be offended. They don't have to be offended because they don't have to go over there and see it. If it
And again, there's a time and a place for all things. All things. There are very specific and accurate channels who deal with autopsies and necropsy studies on YouTube. They're not stuck behind a paywall. They're not tied to the cases of high profile children or adults for that matter. It's done in a very professional teaching manner. This is not it.
Well, I'd like to ask them the question: if this was their child, how would they feel? Would they have the same opinion? I think not.
I think we all feel that way. Lip locked. We all feel very passionate about all of this. We should be passionate about it. But once you let that initial anger simmer a little bit, simmer down a smidge, there is some goodness to be taken from this to ensure that we can do better for other families. We can do better for other people. And we can support Gannon's family should they wish to take whatever form of action that they're going to. They've been through enough. Most families have been through enough with this kind of stuff. They don't need this to be revisited upon them.
Darlings, I am going to go quiet, but I'm going to be here watching still, and I will be in the chat. But while there was a convenient moment, I just wanted to say good night.
Night, Pearl. Love you.
I love you, darling.
Love you, Pearl. Good night, hon.
Love you also. So thank you so much, Wee. Please carry on.
Good night, Pearl.
Good night.
You sound so much better, Wee.
She does. She sounded terrible the other night, didn't she?
I know. I was so worried about her.
I was too.
It's been. I've had a quite a chaotic sort of week. a little bit like Miss Pearl and a lot of others, where I'm used to things just being a wee bit changeable at best. But then there's other times where you're like, oh my goodness, what is even happening? It was one of those weeks. That week. That's the week
those
that was.
kind of weeks.
But we're here. We're here.
Rowena, take care.
Vincent, don't go look at it. She put up a firewall by putting it on Patreon and making it be where you had to be a member to see it. So come on, how much more of a firewall do you need? It wasn't like she put it on YouTube. So she tried to create some type of block to where if you chose not to see it, you didn't have to see it.
I don't know how many more ways we can say it.
Yeah, right. At this point, we're beating a dead horse.
They
Yeah,
keep,
well, we know
yeah,
we're
they
all
keep
here.
saying the same thing, but my point is the same.
And
They
the
want
rest of it,
justification for what they did.
Right.
What?
It's not justifiable.
No, it's not. It's putting a baby on display, and it just sickens me.
Yeah, I mean, I'm even more disturbed by the fact that she didn't cover the case. To find out
I
she didn't
know,
even cover
right?
that case,
She
and
has
now
no
you're
clue
going
what happened to him.
in this way.
Ugh.
It really bothers me so much.
And did Ziggy?
And yeah,
Ziggy didn't
I
cover
didn't
it
go.
either.
I didn't go see the pictures because it bothers me. That's wrong. So yes,
Just
both of those things.
knowing it in your head and them discussing what had happened to him was enough for me to feel sick to my stomach. I don't need to
Yeah.
see.
No, I don't want to see that.
I don't need to see a baby done that way. I just don't.
at the very least,
Tamara, me either.
for somebody with resources that people like Zav Girl, etc., do have at their disposal of contacting experts and things and hiring someone for that job, how would you all have felt
Sorry.
if a clinician, if a professional, either retired legal expert or someone who is in the autopsy area of
Like a
medical,
medical examiner or something.
well, again, even that's why I was like, there's wiggle room there for all the things, but how would you have felt if that discussion had been held with a professional person rather than somebody who's just winging it?
Right.
Would it have made a difference?
To me, it really wouldn't have.
Nope.
Because I don't see the value for me.
In the public
I just don't
consumption.
understand
Yeah, I don't either.
the value of it. If this was like a professor that was teaching medical students, or I don't know the correct term, but maybe somebody that's going to go forensics or something like that was after these photos and wanted to discuss detecting this and that about a victim and determining causes of death and all of that sort of thing, that I view completely different than a YouTuber that didn't cover the case, now putting that out there and even having and coming up and talking about it now after this case. The case is not in question. There's a verdict. There's been a conviction. There was a confession. All of those things. This is not like something that I don't understand what the autopsy photos bring to enhance any discussion about this case.
Well, because
that's just my view.
Every case is different. Now, don't get me sideways. I'm not saying it's a good idea by any stretch of the imagination. Please do not take me in that manner. I am saying that usually when those topics are handled in that way, there are provisions made. One is anonymity of the person in question. One is the terminology that is used at the time. and the background to the case in order to make it a case discussion rather than here's just some fun little pictures I found for you. Have a little look see. You can head up my Patreon if you want to have a gander. That's the weird. Oh, that's where it
Yeah.
really hits weird for me, because I think there could be an argument in a different time, place, setting for a very different, very differently handled discussion with the subject matter. And I mean that in a whole sense, not just pictures. I mean the case as a whole. I think that's where people are saying quite rightly, because she didn't handle the case, it hits different. It hits
does.
different.
It
It
does.
hits wrong.
I don't understand what value she thinks it brings to this community at all. And I kind of side right here with something Liplock is saying about Gannon should be remembered for his love and his kindness and the beautiful, or excuse me, the beauty of his heart and soul. I'm going to challenge YouTubers to flood in this community, to flood YouTube with Gannon's smile, with Gannon's face. Go sub up to his little channel that he had, that he wanted to be YouTube famous, and let's remember Gannon, how he was in life, and take this stain out of here.
Or the words of Al. The words of Al at the end of that case when he was giving his victim impact statement. He did a very beautiful and heartbreaking job of portraying Gannon as the child that he was. Not a case number, not
Right.
a deceased family member, but a very real, living, breathing little boy. Those words should ring clearly in everybody's head in order for us to have this discussion, because that's who we're talking about here, that very same little boy.
Indeed. We're ready to carry on.
Yeah.
I keep losing my wee tab. Hold on.
Of course she has a wee tab.
Of course.
I have a file.
Well, I think roadkills would be less. I mean, I would rather see that than probably. I mean, if you professionals have to see it, the people. This was a crime done against Gannon. What Letitia Stout did, and she's put him in this position to be his name be known around the world for this little boy who was put in a suitcase, thrown over a bridge, and by his psycho stepmom.
She's always so careful with her words, isn't she?
Oh.
Now you know why I stopped at the last sentence, because it really only gets a lot worse from here. As you heard, she very carelessly uses the comparison there of I would rather see roadkill.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Let that sink in.
And then just
right till
continues
she
to
finally finishes a
dehumanize him.
sentence, and it's one she shouldn't have.
Right.
Right.
The
Exactly.
one time.
She totally dehumanizes him.
Mm-hmm. And it's funny how she brings up that professional element again. Ziggy has also very conveniently forgotten her own argument there for whenever she published what could be sensitive documents relating to a missing child at the
Mhm.
time whenever she started her channel. Well, not the documents because she's going to get picky about that, but the story thereof, and she's very vague on how she got them and what it all meant and whether they were accurate, but you're all on the same path. But to use that word, roadkill, I think that tells you a lot about
Heartless.
where she
Heartless.
was picturing that in her mind.
I also see in chat someone saying she did not just say, but Zav Girl made him famous. Yeah, she did. None of us are shocked. These are the terms that she thinks of: fame and dollar bills.
Right.
YouTube Ziggy. Beep beep.
Could we, maybe because this is so heavy right now, break for a commercial?
Really heavy.
Beep, beep.
All right, hold on.
Do you have an annoying car? Do you have an annoying teen? Is your annoying teen eating up the dollars you need to replace your annoying car? Does it feel like you'll never get that dream car that you promised yourself when you grew up? Are you looking for a solution? Willing to try a new idea? Well, Kriss Kars for Kids could have just the answer you're looking for. Come on down to your local Kriss Kars for Kids dealership and see what's on offer. Don't forget to bring your old car. And most importantly, that spare teenager that's been cluttering up your kitchen. Here's how it works. You bring your kid in, sign some quick paperwork, and pick out your car.
Children are not refundable. Terms and conditions apply.
And that's that. You just drive away.
Beep beep, motherfuckers.
Sorry, everyone, I needed a palate cleanser.
Beep beep.
Perfect. It's perfect.
It was Chris's tone there as well, and I know that Pearl had spent an inordinately long time making sure that she got every detail correct there to make that little car do all the things at the correct moment, and it was beautiful.
That's right. Yeah. She worked really hard and long on that. All right, how much more of this is left on here? I don't know.
JW, I
400
have
years.
no clue.
I think that we have probably covered our general take on it from this point. You know what I mean?
I can deal with.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to get incredibly better at any point. So.
No, I don't think
it
so.
Won't get any better at all.
If you have any time points, I can skip to them, but I remembered you getting to that part and just being like, oh no, you didn't. Oh yes, you did.
Pearl said she thinks it's repetition from here on.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Then we can probably.
She said ditch it.
Ditch it.
I love you, Pearl.
It's just only making me angrier and angrier. You
it
know,
does me too.
Oh, when our producer speaks from chat.
Makes me want to poke and baptize him, and not baptize him in a nice way either.
Oh,
Give
no.
him a good dunk, a double dunk.
No. Kick him off the pier where sharks are circling. They can be called they can be called chum.
One of those high energy baptisms.
Yeah. I use my karate.
I know it's hard.
Carrie, I'm so happy you found us too. I was wondering if you would.
It's heavy being so serious for so long.
I love you.
It's heavy. Oh my
So we'll come up
goodness.
with
Yeah, it is very heavy, and so many people are talking about it right now. It's going to be easy to get burned out on it, but these are important conversations. They're very important conversations to be having.
Rainbow, not so bright. It
There's
almost
your
looks like
Zigster
she
for you.
I mean, she's almost looks better like that.
Ziggy, we made you
Ziggy.
famous. There you go.
Well, it is very on brand for the Zigster, with replete with her little rainbow outfit.
I love that rainbow, not so bright. It kills me.
My Little Pony. I'm sorry, the face scares me.
I want the socks.
Oh, not again. Oh, man. How does it keep happening? I don't know.
We're
how
probably
that keeps
stashing them back there.
Look at
Now, if you want the
Lip
good
Lock. Oh my
ones that are
gosh.
on sale, contact me.
Yep, yo.
She's flashing people.
I think
That's
you are
just-
going to hear a lot about this for a good while. So there are a lot of people saying that, you know, it's heavy or it hurts them or it's making them upset at times. Whenever you feel that way, it is okay to take a breather for yourself. That doesn't mean you have to stop talking about the thing. It just means that sometimes we all need a moment to collect ourselves in order to do the thing that you care about the best justice you can. So don't be afraid to give yourself that time to step away and, you know, have a complete palate cleanser, because this should be difficult to talk about. It is difficult.
Mm-hmm.
My producer is reminding me that I need to run the sponsor again. Is that time?
Please do.
I don't think I'll ever look at those cheese balls again the same.
Julie, I don't want them in my house. Lip Lock asked if we had seen the Ziggy's intro. Yes, Lip Lock, you'll have to watch the beginning of the program where we made fun of it.
So dumb.
Oh my gosh.
I have no words. I just don't know.
Yeah, I mean, this is a... Oh, I'm sorry, Bugsy, go ahead.
No, you're fine. No. Go ahead.
I was just saying this whole topic, it's definitely probably going to be around for a while, unfortunately, but it's worth discussion. It's sad about what it is, but it's worth discussion about what kind of changes probably really need to happen.
Tits. Yeah, because every time I'd see that container, I'd see that goofy dude on there.
She said that goofy dude.
I'm trying to be nice.
Well, I'm just glad they're sponsoring us.
Bugsy, that's the word I'd use too, goofy.
I have no other words for him.
And are we about... Are you
Ooh, we
ladies
did
about ready to
good.
wrap it up?
Yes,
Yeah,
because
I think we could go ahead and wrap it up.
Guys, go to
JBT's going to go live. Yeah.
Go to J. We're all thinking the same thing. JBT, go to JBT.
Please go to JBT's. You're going to want to make that a thing. Please.
We will be discussing today's fuckery over at JBT's.
Even if you have not seen the contents of said chaos, you're going to want to make that discussion because it dovetails into the very subject we were talking about, strangely enough. And that's why it's important there's a lot to consider here. It's not just one case, one person, one state. There's a whole lot to feed into this. And JBT's got the deets.
He does.
Yes.
He does. I believe the title is something like True Crime with Eve Dog Walked Purple today, something like that. So it should be a good time.
Yes. So
I'm glad
there's
we spoke with Kriss too.
There's the link for you guys. Definitely go over and please sub up to JBT. And on that note, I think we can call it a night so everybody can head on over there. And
I think we can. When are we going to be live again, Liza?
tomorrow, right?
Tomorrow afternoon.
Central.
Tomorrow
Yep,
at
12
9 o'clock
Eastern.
my time. 12
I'm
Eastern.
glad it's not 9 o'clock my time.
Yeah.
I
bet.
don't think I can get up.
Thank you all for
It'll be
coming today.
9 a.m. for the West Coast. Good night, everybody. Thank you for joining us.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Go
See
to
you,
JBT.
Thank you.
We're out of
Love
this bitch.
You're embarrassing yourself. Go to bed.
Good night.